Confidence isn't something you're born with, and lack of confidence isn't a personality flaw. It's a learned behavior, built brick by brick through moments when you were told you were too much or not enough. Every time you spoke up and got shut down, every time you shared something and got laughed at, every time you tried and failed publicly. Each moment taught you the world is safer when you're small. The person in this story had a PhD in making themselves small, could shrink into any corner, blend into any wall, until they realized smallness wasn't protection, it was prison. This is how they escaped. Now, I need you to understand why this video matters. This will show you how to become self-confident, not by faking it or forcing yourself to be someone you're not, but by understanding that feeling small is learned, which means it can be unlearned. Most advice tells you to believe in yourself without showing you how. This reveals that confidence isn't a belief, it's a practice. You'll learn why your smallness is a protection mechanism that's outlived its usefulness and how to reclaim space without becoming someone you're not. So let me tell you about Lisa. She's 32 years old, talented graphic designer, kind, thoughtful, and completely invisible by choice. She'd perfected the art of making herself small. In meetings, she'd preface every comment with, "This might be stupid," or "Sorry, can I just say..." She'd literally apologize before breathing in shared spaces. "Sorry, excuse me," for existing, just for taking up the oxygen that she had every right to breathe. On public transit, she'd make herself as compact as possible, shoulders hunched inward, arms pulled tight against her body, taking up the absolute minimum space even when seats were empty around her. In restaurants, she'd order quickly, quietly, apologetically. "Sorry, can I get the..." As if asking for food she was paying for was somehow an imposition on the server. In relationships, she'd agree with everything to avoid conflict. Her opinions were always tentative, "I don't know, maybe." Her needs were always negotiable. "It's fine, whatever you want." Friends loved her because she never made waves, never caused drama, never had inconvenient needs or difficult emotions. Bosses loved her because she never challenged anything, never pushed back, never advocated for herself even when she was being treated unfairly. Partners loved her because she was easy, which meant she required nothing, asked for nothing, expected nothing. But here's the thing. Lisa wasn't loved. The small version of Lisa was loved. The agreeable version, the convenient version, the version that never took up too much space or required too much attention. The real Lisa, the one with opinions and needs and desires, was so buried even she couldn't find her anymore. The smallness started in childhood. Her family was loud, big personalities, strong opinions, constant debates at the dinner table where everyone talked over each other, competing for airtime. And Lisa, quieter by nature, learned that volume meant value, that if you weren't loud, you didn't matter. So she stopped speaking. Learned that silence was easier than fighting to be heard. Learned that being small meant being safe, meant not being criticized or told you were wrong or made fun of for saying something stupid. In school, she gave a presentation in 5th grade. She was excited about it, had worked hard, was passionate about her topic. And halfway through, a boy in the back row laughed, not at something funny, at her for being enthusiastic. Others joined in, and Lisa's teacher, instead of defending her, said, "Okay, that's enough, Lisa, sit down." And Lisa learned enthusiasm makes you a target. Caring too much makes you vulnerable. After that, she presented everything with apology, with hedging, with the energy of someone hoping to disappear into the floor. By 32, the smallness was so ingrained she didn't even notice it anymore. It was just who she was. The quiet one, the agreeable one, the one who didn't take up much space, the one people could talk over and forget was in the room. And she told herself this was fine. This was just her personality. Some people are loud and some people are quiet, and she was quiet, and that was okay. Except it wasn't her personality. It was her protection. And there's a difference. The shift came during a work presentation. Lisa had designed a campaign she was actually proud of, something she poured her soul into, worked late nights, thought about constantly. It was good, and she knew it was good. And during the presentation to clients, her boss, mid-sentence while Lisa was presenting, interrupted her, took over, started presenting her ideas as his own, using her language, her concepts, her designs, but making it sound like they were his. And Lisa did what she'd always done. Smiled, nodded, stepped aside, let him take the spotlight. Because that's what small people do. They defer, they accommodate, they make space for others even when those others are stealing from them. After the meeting, she went to the bathroom and cried. Not from anger, from exhaustion, from being so small for so long that people didn't even see her work as hers. She disappeared so completely that her own contributions were invisible. Her colleague Maya found her, asked what happened, and Lisa, through tears, said he just took over, like I wasn't even there. And Maya looked at her with this mix of frustration and compassion and said something Lisa would never forget. She said, because you act like you're not there. You apologize for existing. You preface everything with, I don't know, or maybe, or this might be wrong. You make yourself so small that people treat you like you're small. And I'm watching you disappear. Why are you so afraid of being seen? Lisa didn't have an answer. Couldn't explain it in that moment, so that night she sat with Maya's question. What am I afraid will happen if I take up space, if I speak with authority, if I exist without apology? And the answer when it came was devastating. I'm afraid they'll reject me, laugh at me, prove that I'm not enough. So I stay small preemptively. If I'm small by choice, I'm not small by verdict. It's control disguised as humility, protection disguised as kindness. But the cost, she'd spent 32 years being nobody to avoid the possibility of being somebody people didn't like. She'd chosen guaranteed invisibility over potential rejection. And suddenly, sitting there in her apartment that night, that trade didn't seem worth it anymore. Because what was she protecting? A self that didn't exist? A life that felt like watching someone else's life through a window. She'd been so busy protecting herself from rejection that she rejected herself, daily, constantly, completely. The next Monday, Lisa walked into the office and did something small but seismic. When someone interrupted her in a meeting, she said, calmly, clearly, I wasn't finished. Not aggressively, not rudely, not with anger, just factually. I wasn't finished. The room went silent. People looked at it like she'd grown a second head. And then she continued her point, finished what she was saying. And the world didn't end. No one attacked her. No one laughed. They just listened. That week, she stopped prefacing her ideas with, this might be stupid. Started saying, here's what I think, instead. Stopped apologizing for asking for things she'd paid for. Food, service, space. Started saying, could I get, instead of sorry, could I get. Started making eye contact instead of looking at the floor. Started sitting fully in her chair instead of perching on the edge like she might need to flee at any moment. Small changes, tiny shifts, but they felt massive. Because every time she didn't apologize for existing, she was sending her brain a message. I'm allowed to be here. I don't need permission to take up space. I don't need to earn the right to have needs or opinions or a voice. I already have the right by virtue of being human. And slowly, her nervous system started to believe it. 6 months later, Lisa had been promoted. Not because she suddenly became aggressive or loud or someone she wasn't, but because when you stop making yourself small, people see your actual size. And her actual size was competent, talented, valuable, creative. All the things that had always been there but hidden under layers of apology and hedging and smallness. Lisa tells people now, confidence isn't about believing you're perfect, it's about believing you're allowed to exist imperfectly. Feeling small isn't about who you are, it's about who you've decided you're allowed to be. And that's a decision you can change. So what did Lisa actually learn? What truths freed her from smallness? First truth, confidence isn't a feeling, it's an action. Lisa thought confidence meant feeling fearless. So she waited to feel fearless before acting confident. But that's backwards. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. Every confident person you see feels uncertain sometimes, feels scared sometimes, feels like they might fail or be rejected or look stupid. They've just decided uncertainty doesn't disqualify them from speaking, trying, existing. Confidence is built through repeated acts of showing up scared and doing it anyway, not through feeling ready first. Second truth, your smallness is protection, not truth. You made yourself small to avoid rejection, criticism, conflict, and it worked. You stayed safe. But safe isn't the same as alive.
Your smallness is a strategy, not your nature. You learned it, which means you can unlearn it. Not by becoming loud or aggressive or someone you're not, by recognizing that the threat that made you small probably doesn't exist anymore. You're not in fifth grade. You're not at that dinner table fighting for airtime. You're an adult. And even if rejection happens, which it might, smallness doesn't actually protect you from being rejected. It just ensures you never try. Third truth, taking up space isn't arrogance, it's honesty. There's a difference between arrogance, which is I'm better than others, and confidence, which is I'm allowed to exist as I am. Lisa thought claiming space was selfish. But taking up space isn't about dominating others, it's about refusing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Your existence isn't negotiable. Your voice isn't optional. Your needs aren't impositions. You're allowed to be here, fully, without apology. Not because you've earned it through achievement, but because you're human, and humans get to take up space. Fourth truth, you don't need permission, you need decision. Lisa waited for permission that never came, for someone to tell her she was allowed to be confident. But permission isn't granted, it's claimed. You decide you're allowed. You decide your voice matters. You decide you're done making yourself small. That decision doesn't require external validation. It requires internal commitment. And once you make that commitment, once you claim that permission, you'll be amazed how much space you actually deserve. So, how do you actually practice this? How do you build confidence when you've been small your whole life? First practice, the audit. For 1 week, notice every time you apologize unnecessarily. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry, can I just? Sorry for existing in this space. Each time you catch yourself, replace it with a neutral statement. Excuse me instead of sorry. I have a question instead of sorry, but. You're retraining your brain that existing doesn't require apology. Second practice, the assertion practice. Daily practice one small act of assertion. Don't preface your idea with "this might be wrong." State it clearly. Don't end statements with questions. Does that make sense? Seeking permission to have said it. Stand behind what you say. Small repeated acts of assertion build the muscle of confidence, like going to the gym. One bicep curl doesn't build the muscle. 1,000 bicep curls do. Third practice, the space claiming. Physically practice taking up space. Sit fully in your chair instead of perching on the edge. Stand with your shoulders back instead of hunched inward. Make eye contact instead of looking down. Your body language teaches your brain how to feel. When you physically make yourself small, shoulders curved, head down, arms tight, you feel small. When you physically claim space, stand tall, shoulders back, you feel entitled to it. Fake it till you make it actually works because your brain takes cues from your body. Fourth practice, the what if reframe. When fear arises, what if they judge me? Flip it. What if they don't? What if I'm interesting? What if my voice matters? Your brain focuses on whatever question you ask it. Ask fearful questions, get fearful answers. Ask possibility questions, get possibility answers. Confidence isn't about eliminating fear, it's about asking better questions in the presence of fear. Lisa spent 32 years making herself small to avoid rejection. And in doing so, she rejected herself daily, constantly. She disappeared so thoroughly that even her accomplishments became invisible. Until she realized smallness wasn't protecting her. It was imprisoning her. And the key to that prison? She'd been holding it the whole time. Confidence isn't about becoming someone you aren't. It's about stopping the performance of being smaller than you are. It's about recognizing that the scared child who learned to shrink doesn't need to run your adult life. You're allowed to take up space, speak with authority, exist without apology. Not because you've proven yourself worthy, but because existence itself is permission enough. Here's your truth. Say it with me. I am not too much. I am not too little. I am exactly enough, and I'm allowed to exist fully. Say it again. My smallness was protection, but I don't need protection anymore. I need presence. One more time. I claim the space I was always meant to occupy, without apology, without permission, starting now. If this gave you permission to finally be big, hit the like button. Not for me, for you. As a declaration that you're done playing small. Drop a comment and tell me what's one way you make yourself small that you're ready to stop. Name it, make it real. And subscribe for more truth about reclaiming your power. You're not small. You've just been playing small. Now stop, stand up, take up space. The world needs the full-size version of you, not the apologetic one. The real one. She's been waiting. He's been waiting. They've been waiting. Now, let them out.